Hi guys, welcome back. Today we'll be creating tables using HTML. Now what is our goal for today? We will learn what HTML tables are and when to use them. We will understand the basic structure of tables. We will create table rows and columns. We will create our tables using rows and columns. Then we'll add special features to make our table look better. And we'll also build our own data table from scratch. Now, what is a HTML table? This is a way to organize information in rows and columns. It's like a grid or spreadsheet on your web page. Perfect for displaying data, schedules, or lists. You use tables for displaying your data. You want to write down a list. You can use your table for that to keep it organized and well structured. Okay, when do you use a table? First of all, let me show you what a table looks like. Can you see this over here? This is what a table looks like in HTML, but this is supposed to hold a content. Let's say you want to write your name here, your friend's name, and then you want to write your age, your friend's age. This is what I am talking about, so you do not get confused. This is the table. I'm not talking about your reading table. This is what I am talking about. So, when do you use tables? You use it for creating your data structure, because when they are recording your results, most of the time it is done using a table. You can do that using a table. If you want to create a timetable, you can also do that using HTML table. If you want to build a breakfast menu, you can write the header, you write what you want to eat on Monday. You can just arrange this whole thing using a table. Now let's go through the table terminology. The table is the entire grid structure. This is the table. You can see my cursor and what I am showing you. Now the row is the horizontal line of cells. Now what is a cell? These are the individual boxes you have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 cells. This is what we have in this particular table. Now what is a row? It is the horizontal line of cells. It goes across. You can see the blue line here. It shows that it is a row. You know how your row goes this way, just horizontal, while the column is this way, vertical. You can see the red line showing you that you are talking about the column. Now, in the last class, I taught you about the HTML tags. Now, we also have some other tags in the HTML used for table, and these are the table tags. You have a tag called table, and this is used to create the entire table. Now, when you start with the table tag, in between the table tag, you have the opening, and then you have your closing tag. In between the two tags, that's where you put your table content. And the first thing you add is the table row, which means you are trying to create a row. Okay, that's one thing I want us to know. This particular tag here, which is the TR and stands for table row, is super necessary. We repeat it a whole lot of times because you are creating your table using these rows. It goes horizontal. You can see my image here. It goes horizontal, horizontal, horizontal. There's nothing like table column, because once you've created your row, you can now get your column this way. It is not called, there's no way you go and write it CC. You use the table row because everything you are arranging is going via the row way. Okay, so now when you have your table row will now Okay, when you write your table row, it should have a content inside, because this is our row. It will not be empty. It will have content, and that content is called the TD, which is the table data. Now, for each TD you have, you will put a content inside. You can see the image I have here. Now, if you create your table row, you write TD, and then you put a content inside. Let me show you. Now, for us to do this, to practice this, for us to practice it, we have to create a different file, and we will name it table.html. Since we want to create tables, we'll be using this name, table.html. Remember the last time I told you that once you are creating something using HTML, you have to always tell your VS Code that what you are writing is HTML by adding .html to the end. Now we've created another file, and what are we going to do here? We'll also start by writing the basic HTML structure, which looks like this. We did this the last time, so I don't need to write it all over again. I'm sure you saw exactly this from the last class, so we'll continue. Now, inside your body, just like I said, you don't just come to your file and start creating anything you want to create, writing tags. No, you have to follow the right pattern, which is writing your doc type, writing your HTML, writing the head tag, then the body where you add the main content you want to see on your page. Now, to begin creating a table, the very first thing you need to do is you have to call that table tag, so that you tell this your browser that yes, this is a table. We are trying to create a table. I will do that now. I told you that you create a tag by writing this, the angle brackets, you close it, and then this is it. As I'm trying to close it, it's completing it for me because that's what VS Code does. But if you are using an editor that doesn't give you suggestions, you can always write it out yourself. So in between the tables, what do? We create our first row. How do you create a row? By writing the TR. Let's not forget our anchor, TR, close. It still gives me the second one, which closes it for me. And for each TR, you can have as much table, as many as you want. It can have like 3 table data, it can have 4, it can have 2. Now I'll be creating a table data, and I'll give this a name, which will be, what should I give it? First name, first name. The second one will be another table data. When you say a table data, it means you want to now add something inside your table, inside that row. Now, the second one will be our surname. The third one will be CD. You don't do it you write your tags in small letters. Okay, good. Now, since we've done the first row, let us see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. It comes on a straight line. It doesn't have a line. It doesn't have something that makes it look like a table, but you can add that yourself. Let's do it. Now, to add something that will make you know that you are actually working on a table, you do this. You go to your table head, just inside the table head, just like how you add your source inside your image tag, and how you add your href inside your a tag. You can also add a border. inside your table tag. I said inside the first tag. I'm not talking about in between. I said inside that tag. What you will do is you will write border and you give it 1. Border equal to 1. Let's see what it looks like. Voila, now we have this. It has lines that makes you know that you are actually working on a table. Good. So now if you want to add another line to this code, let's say you now want to say that your surname is this, your name is this, just under this one, you still do it the same way. Let's go back to the code so I can show you properly. Now for you to do that, since we want it to be below the first row, you have to create another row again that goes right below it, and it will be a TR, that is table row. And this table row will contain your first name. Let's say your first name is Jenny. Now when you create your table row, you add your table data. Don't forget that. Table data, and our first name is, my first name, the first name I'll be using for this is Jenny. It's not my first name though, but you can use your name. And you add another table data because you want to say something concerning this, because everything is going okay. Now you added the first name for the first row. I want you to picture this. First row, you added first name, surname, and age. Second row, you are going to add something underneath. Since the row comes this way, this way, this way, that means as you're doing it, you are organizing it in such a way that the first thing you now write in the second row you are creating will be something that will answer to the first one you created. Now the first thing we have in the first row is first name. That means when you are creating the second row, you should start with that name, and that the name I'm using for it is Jenny. Now the second thing I have in my first TR is surname. Now I'll be writing a surname. Let's say that the surname is Peter. The next thing I'll be writing is the age. Since the last TD in the TR says age, I'm trying to organize a table here. So you can do it whatever way you want. If you want to make it random, it's fine. But now this is what you're trying to work on. You're trying to create a list of your names, the name, the first name, surname, and age. So you have to organize this in such a way that if you check the list of the first name, you know that, okay, this is the first name of this person. So the next thing is the last TD, and it will be the age. Let's say the age is 12. Let's see what our table looks like. Good. Can you see what I was trying to explain to you? Now this is first name Jenny, surname Peter, age is 12, and it looks nice. You can as well decide to, if your table is looking too small, you can as well decide to increase the width, still inside the table head. Now just right beside this border, I want to increase the width of my table. You do that by writing width equal to, and then let's say I want my width to be 80, or let's say 100. Let's see what it will look like. It's not good enough. It's not giving me what I want. I'll increase it using a percentage. I will use 80%. Let's take a look. You see, I like it this way. I want it like this. I can decide to reduce it to 60. I can decide to reduce it to 50, whatever thing I want. So I like it this way. It's now looking more like a table. So now let's go back to our class. I believe you're already understanding what I'm trying to teach you. So now that we are back, I hope this image is making sense now, which says you have to create your table row, and then you have to add your TD inside. it will align this way. You create another table row and add your TD inside. So we move, and we have created something like this, so we do not need to talk about it again. And we already understand that table contains the TR tag, and the TR tag contains the TD tag. I already showed that to you in our Visual Studio Code. And now I want you to know that each TD is a cell. I showed you what a cell is. This is a cell, cell number 1, cell number 2. So this box, the TD is a cell. So when this TD is a cell, you know that you are already forming a table. Now, the next thing is a table header. Now, the table header is a tag which comes this way as TH. If you want your table to have a header that is bold, you know, something that people will see and know that, okay, this is the header of the table. It looks different from the other data you have. You make it a TH instead of saying TD. Now let me show you. Now let's say that I want to now add our table head here. I told you how to comment something, right? Now we'll be commenting this out by pressing Ctrl and the slash. Now I want to, this is the first table row. I now want it to be my header. So what I will do is, instead of saying TD that comes out as a normal text, I will say TH, which is table header. It means I want it to be the head. So for my first TH, I'll be calling it first name again. Then we have to add another TH, which will be surname. You add the last TH, which will be age. Good. So now, when you open this in Live Server, you will see that it has changed. The header, the first row that we had that was just the same, was just looking the same as the second row, is now bold. It is also aligned in the center. This is how your TH works. It arranges the text and it makes it bold so that people will know that this is your header. That's what it does. So now if you decide to add more row to this thing, you can as well do that by going down to add a TR tag and then your TD with the contents inside. We will go back. Okay, so I've already told you what the table header does, and okay, something like this. This is how I wrote mine: first name, something else, then age. So we don't need to go back to that. And now you have to know that tables can be divided into sections. If you want to make your page look more organized, your table look more organized, you can divide it into sections. And the first one for the top part is the T head. For the second part, you have the T body, and for the last part, the bottom part, you have the T foot. So why do we use table sections? Table sections help us organize larger tables. Assuming you are working on a bigger table, you will need to section it by saying this is the head and this is the body and this is the footer, so that it will look better. So it allows browsers to scroll through the body while keeping headers visible. And it helps screen readers for accessibility. Now this image is not so bright, but this is what the structure of a table section looks like, where you have your table, you have the T head, and then even though you've added that T head, you still continue with the T row because tables are formed using rows. HTML tables are formed using rows. So you still add your TR and then still do the TH thing, showing that you are working on the head. Then you go down and do the body. Now what the body does is it's now the down part. It's not your header anymore. It's now the other part of the table where you add TR again and then TD. Let's do something quickly. So another table, you can create as many tables as you want. Now for the other table, you will section this in such a way that you have the T head. Now the T head will still have a TR, and the TR will still have your TH, which is the head. Let's say this is header 1. Then you will also have your TH again, which is header 2. Then you will have the third TH, which is header 3. Okay, so we'll also need the T body. The T body is the body of your table, where we'll also do the same thing. We'll have our TR, we'll have our TD for table data. I told you the only time you use a TH is when you want to create a header, and we are done with the T head. We close the tag here. This is where we close the tag for T head. Now with the body, we are doing the TR. We'll add the, let's just say that we're working on the body, so we just do body. Another TD. Okay. TD. Okay. Something wrong. Should have TD. Now let's see what's going on with this. Let's view our page first. Now it's not looking like a table because we've not added a border. Now we'll be adding that right now to our table. That is the beginning, which is the table tag. We'll be adding a border. So you type border equal to 1. I also want to add a width so that we'll just see our work immediately. Equal to 80%. Can we let's view our work. Now this is what it looks like now. So since it's not letting us differentiate between the two pages, let's see, two tables. Let's see if our BR, I told you what the break does. Did I? Yes, I did. In our last class, we learned how the table, the break tag works. To know if it works for this part, you see it has given a space, 2 lines between our first table and our second table. Now that's good. Okay, our code has been showing an error because we did not close our table data. So now we can continue. So that's why you have to be observant and check if something is wrong. So the other one is body 2. Then we can add the last, which is body 3. Good. So let's see what it looks like now. This is it. This is wonderful. I hope you like what you are saying, because I do. Now this will be going back to our class. The table caption. If you want to add a caption to your table, you can do that using the caption tag. It's not an issue. The only thing we need to do is to go to our table before the first TR. You can add a caption tag and add the title you want to add there. Let's see if this works out. Now let me go here. Okay, let me use our first table. You can now write your caption and say my first table. Let's view this. You see right here, my first table is here. So that's what your caption does. Now we will go back to our class. This is table borders. I've already showed you what the table border does. And there's something called cell spacing and cell padding. Now the cell spacing, the space happens between cells, while the cell padding happens inside the cell. Now look at this image. The cell padding happens inside the text. It just adds a space around the text, while the cell spacing happens outside the cell, just in between the cells, while the padding happens around the content. Okay, now let's go to one table, our table, and add a cell spacing and also a cell padding. Let's see what will happen. We will use our second table for this instance. Okay. Cell spacing. So we're adding the cell spacing equal to 10 and then the cell padding equal to 5. Let's see if a change will happen. You see what happened? It added a space around the cells. Now look at how our table was looking initially, but now that we added the cell spacing and padding, we have a whole lot of spaces right now around the text, around the content, and around the cells. So this is what the cell spacing and cell padding does. Now for the table width and height, I've already taught you how you add a width. You add a height the same way. So you can also add a width specifically to your cell. You can just go to your TD or your TH and give it a different width. I'll quickly show us how that's done. Now let's use this. This is our second table again. Okay, no, let's use our first table. In our TH, let's add a width equal to, let's give it 10%. Okay, let's go live. Now this is it. This is it. It's looking. Now let me trace. It's not giving it what I want. It's too small for me. So let me increase it. I'll have to increase it. You can see here that it's already reduced in size. Let me increase it and see what will happen. So now you see what happened when I increased the width. It stretched to this point and it moved it together with this other one right here. The width increased to 80%. So but I don't want my width to be that different from the rest of it. So I'll keep it the same way. I will keep it the same way. I will make it just, I'll remove it. I don't need it. But if let's just leave it and continue with our class. Now there's something called col span. Now this attribute makes a cell stretch across multiple columns. Now, okay, I will look for an image that will show you what I mean by that. This is what I mean. If you want, okay, it's supposed to be two columns right now, one here and one here, but you can make one column stretch to the second one depending on what you want. If you want it to be just one text on top and then other things, or you want one data to occupy more space, you can use something called col span attribute. Now same thing as the row span. If you want, okay, now look at this JavaScript written here, this text here. It is not the normal size as the other ones. It stretches to the other row. So this is what happens when you want to occupy space. When a particular data needs to occupy another space, if you add a row span or a col span, it takes up more rows. If you say col span and give it 2, it's taking up 2 of the column. And if you give it row span 2, it's taking up 2 of the rows. Now let's see how it works. Now for this our TD, I want to give it a col span of col span of 2. Let's see what will happen. The table we are working on is no, let's not use this table. Let's use this other one that we've not done anything to. So we'll add a col span to the head. Now I want my head to occupy two columns. So I will give it my first data. I want it to occupy 2 columns. So I'll make a col span of 2. Let's see what it looks like. You see? It has moved. It has stretched. So if I decide to still get rid of this one, everything, let's see what happens if we decide to get rid of the third one. Because this extra column is now adding an extra space in all our table. Since our table used to be 3 rows, 3 columns, our table used to be 2 rows and 3 columns. But then by adding an extra column to it, it's now stretched. And now we are having 4 columns. So if I decide to remove this header number 3, let's see what it will look like. Now I can remove that by highlighting it and commenting it out so that the browser doesn't see it, so that we can see what will happen. This is what happens. Everything is now equal because this is taking up 2 and this is 1. So everything has been equalized, looking good as well. So now let's continue with our class. Table background color. Now if you want your table, if you want to add a color to your table, you can do that by inside where you add width and height, there's something called BG color. You can just go to your table head or table data to add BG color and give it any color you want. Let's see how that works. Now for this particular one that we gave a row span, let's give it a color BG color equal to yellow. Let's see if it works. Now we have our header as a yellow color. we can make the other one another color by saying, or come down here and give it a BG color red. Let's go and inspect it. Now it's out. That's wonderful. So we'll go back to our class and we'll continue. Now there's something called alignment in tables. You can align your text. You can align horizontally, left, center, right. You can V-align, that is aligning vertically, top, middle, and bottom. So now we will be aligning one of our texts to see what will happen. We'll make it align to the center and then go to the top vertically. So for this particular one that has a color already, let's give it, and just inside, everything I'm doing is inside the opening tag. So we'll give it V-align equal to top. You can also give it the align as center. Let's inspect this and see what it looks like. Now this is what happened. It's still the same way because what we did is we aligned it to the center and we took it to the top. It is now aligned to the center. So let's go back to our class. So now this is modern table styling. In modern web development, you use CSS for styling. And now HTML attributes are phased out. With CSS, you can make your table look really nice. But we'll not be doing that in this class. We'll be doing that in our next class. And we'll make our table look way more prettier. So now this is what a CSS table looks like. Now the common mistakes that people make when they are creating a table using HTML is forgetting closing tags, and I did something like that where I forgot to close it properly and I had to go back and check where the problem was coming from. Then when you have uneven number of cells, just like when I added an extra col span that now stretched the entire table, that is a mistake people should look out for. I had to remove one to make it equalize. Now, incorrect nesting tag. When you put your TR and you don't put the right data inside, which is TD, you now put TR and then put TR in, like, you have to be accurate, you know. Now let's build a table. There's no point going to this one because we have been building a table all along. So I want you to build a table. Just do something for fun, something that has a header, multiple rows, and just give it that styling I already gave you. Just color the cells, and that's fine. Now these are table ideas that you can create. Create a class schedule table. You can make it scoreboard for your favorite game. You can also design a menu for your imaginary restaurant, and you can build a table for planets in our solar system. Now, when you see that there's a problem with your table, there's a way to figure it out. That is what debugging does. Debugging is when you have an issue in your table, you just go through it. What you have to do, you check for missing tags yourself, like I said before. And if your borders are not showing, just like the first time I showed you my table using live server, the border wasn't showing. I had to go back and I added a border in my table. Now you have to check if cells are not aligned. Now to show you examples of tables, We have sports statistics, train or bus schedules. These are things you can create using your table, HTML table. You have the nutritional information, you have the price comparisons. And this is an example of a sports statistics. A table like this, drafted for sports. Now this is sports, male, female, basketball, 14. So as you're aligning your table, you're making it like you're arranging it to make sense. You structure it properly. And you have a train or bus schedule, which is this bus number 51, 53, 55, 57. These are things you can do with. This is nutritional information, your steak, your fried rice, sushi, just calories and all. You can do a lot of things with your table. This is another one, price comparisons. This is, so you can do a whole lot with your table. So yes, you are doing great, my friends. And next time, we'll learn how to style our table using CSS. And that's all for today. Bye!